everyone. Welcome to Special Food Choices Talk Show podcast series. This is Kanika Nandurdikar. I'm founder of NihKan Superfoods. We have today Ms Ishi Khosla. She's the founder of the Celiac Society of India. She's a practicing clinical nutritionist, a researcher, an author, a columnist, and a welfare worker too. As year 2023 has been declared as an International Year of Millets, we'll be talking with Ms Ishi on the benefits of using millets in the daily life. But before that, we would like to congratulate her on her new book. The name is The 4G Code to the Good Health. Welcome to the show, Ishi.
Thank you, Kanika, for having me. And thank you for introducing the book. I'm excited about the new book and happy to take this forward with you.
Sure. So Ishi, what are the 4Gs which you are referring to in your book and how they are important to understand your own body signs?
Yeah, so the book, when I thought about, the compulsion to write about something which was getting completely ignored by the current health conversations and nutritional packages, the diet philosophies. We were all talking about calories and nutrients and the usual, cutting one nutrient or the other. Sometimes we were cutting calories, sometimes we were cutting fat, sometimes we were increasing proteins or fats, and fasting. All those things have been mainstream. But as a practitioner, I realized that there was much more to food than just nutrients, and that what that food was doing in our bellies, in our gut, was the critical game changer. So certain foods were helping us achieve our targets, whether it was weight or whether it was disease management, and certain foods which were disturbing the gut, kept us away from achieving those targets. And it was becoming very clear that literally when a patient walked into the clinic, he had multiple problems. And if we changed the grain itself, we were able to solve not only his weight problem, but the multiple problems like, say, mental health issues, anxiety, diabetes, joint pains, mood, sleep. So many, they come with a baggage. So even reproductive problems, even breathing problems and neurological problems, they all got sorted in a very short span of time. And that's when we used to suspect the role of wheat and gluten in wheat. And way back about, I would say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we had tests. We had started, the lab work was very accurate. Tests which were almost like 99% accurate had been become available to us to screen for celiac disease. But when we did the celiac test on these patients who were improving on wheat-free diets, the celiac tests were negative. But yet we knew that the problem is there, and there is something that is making them change, even though they don't have celiac disease. And so about, I would say 10, 15, 12 years ago, a little longer, we discovered, and then I researched and I found that there was a whole entity called non-celiac wheat sensitivity, right, which was also relatively new in the research world. It was just emerging. And I said, hey, this is what my patients are suffering from. They don't have celiac, but they're reacting to wheat as much, as badly as a celiac would. And then by, process of research and education and self-learning, we figured that this was really the game changer for most people who were struggling with weight, who were struggling with high cholesterol, with high blood pressure, with reproductive issues, infertility, miscarriages, mood issues, and so on and so forth. So that is then when I said that, if this is it, then this has to go down in my next book. Oh. And because this was helping me join all the dots. Literally, when patients came, we could tell that their gut has got affected, And that's how, whether it's got affected primarily because of wheat or because of something else, and they have become sensitive to wheat. That's a chicken and egg situation. But we knew that, particularly post-pregnancy, when the gut undergoes changes, or post-illness, say, or post a surgery, when you're taking a lot of medication, like we have long COVID, long medication, that's when the gut is undergoing changes. And we see this development of food sensitivities. In fact, even in women, PCOD became a huge problem suddenly. Last 12, 15 years, we never heard of it earlier, and as much as we see it today. And they were not even obese. Some of the girls were very, very lean and thin. And they were given hormones, and they were given a whole lot of things to eat, because that's what the mainstream gynecological treatment is. And they would then come up with anxiety and bloating and all that. And I said, no, you started reacting to wheat because your gut is getting affected with these things. So when whatever it is, it just helped us join the dots in people's lives and come to the real, the crux of the problem, or literally hitting the nail on the head. And we, therefore, it was all about the gut, and we healed the gut. We removed the grains which were bothering the gut. And also, all of this is about creating inflammation in the body.
So that's what you have talked about more.
Yes, that's what we talked about in the book, because that is really where all diseases in our body really start. Inflammation, whether it's heart disease, it doesn't happen overnight. It's low-grade inflammation which takes a toll. And so whether it's cancer, whether it's thyroid problems, whatever we're dealing with, all starts with inflammation. So all diseases really start there. And this is what happens with gluten, and when the gut gets, disturbed. And so then, we also realize that large bellies, that is a girth, abdominal fat, is also highly inflammatory. A lot of people who are very thin and normal BMIs, and like I told you, these little girls who are very thin, but they have little belly fat. So I decided to put that down also. The gut-girth connection as a contributor to inflammation had to be put there. So we wrote gut and girth, and gluten being the biggest trigger for inflammation for most people today. I may not be the only one, but it is one of the key contributors. And sugars also seem to be aggravating the problem. And sugars could be hiding in form of sweets and bakery products, all the mithais and sugary drinks, or in the form of grains and, typically breads and the extra carbs, that the chapatis and the products that we make out of staples, are also really one step away from sugar. So in the body, it takes a few minutes only for that grain to become sugar. So I thought we should have undivided attention on this as well. So you may be having, everything right, but maybe just having too much of sugar itself, or in the form of grains and carbs. So all of these were the key areas I thought which needed to be addressed. And that's how the book came about. And I was very tempted to add the 5G, because this was when there was 4G, and that is how long ago the book was in my head. But finally happened when 5Gs have come. And the 5th G was actually the genes, the genetic makeup, which controls everything. So,
we can expect another series of your next book, maybe another topic to talk about.
Yes, I think now is better to talk on the digital platform and social media. Not too many people have the attention span to read.
Right. So absolutely right. So 4G is basically so gut, gluten, glucose, and girth, right? That's what is being represented well mannered in the book.
I say gut, girth, gluten, and glucose. So the parts of the body which are important below the waist and above the hips, inside out is outside is a girth and inside is a gut.
Right.
And the two key components today which need to be looked at are gluten and glucose. And maybe gluten, there was a slash here. I thought I could do grains instead of gluten because there are other grains which also trigger inflammation because you are wheat sensitive. They are not directly gluten containing grains, but anyway, I said let's hit the bullseye and say what has to be said.
Right. So Ishi, what are the initial signs of gluten intolerance or the symptoms basically which people may not notice or ignore because of their indulgent food habits or basically wrong food choices?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kanika, because very often we see problems with people who do not have gut symptoms
Right.
or gut-related issues. So in an audience, maybe 30% people say they have gut symptoms and 70% say we don't have gut symptoms. So is that not relevant to us? That means our we don't have a gut issue? No, that's absolutely untrue because almost there are statistics and data here, but mostly patients who it's very actually compelling to hear that out of one person who has gut related symptoms, there are 8 who do not have gut related symptoms and have problems with wheat. So it's that skewed, and so gut related symptoms may be nil, but you may be suffering from gut related issues. It could be an immune system, it could be just you're falling ill very I'm talking of immune system because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It became where does immunity start? It starts in the gut because most your 70% of the immune system sits in the gut. So, you have to begin there, and you may not have any gut related issues, but that's what you have to address. And I will tell you how that happens. But you can have symptoms right from, just having fatigue. That's what I see the most among youngsters also. Low energy. You may have insomnia. You may have body pains, joint pains, muscle pains. You can have PCOS. You may have acne, skin problems like alopecia, psoriasis, eczema. So there could be outward symptoms. There could be just things even like diabetes, high blood pressure, and all of these things kick in. And anemia, nutritional impact in the form of bone problems, osteoporosis, osteopenia, anemia. So all of these things, tingling sensation in the extremities, imbalance, epilepsy, you name it. And of course, mental health issues, depression, schizophrenia, attention deficit disorders, ADD, ADHD.
Right. Even in the kids, we have seen, so many symptoms are emerging even at the very, very early ages. And so how early were your experience with the kids?
So even autism is being treated with the gluten-free diet today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how early basically parents should actually address it if it's something they are seeing and they're not able to actually make out like what the problem is actually. So how early they should act on it?
I think the red flags they can begin very early. Today we are seeing congenital autoimmune problems like kids with at birth having diabetes or thyroid disorders or arthritis, etc. So if those are the conditions, or your child is anemic, or your child is showing a behavior problem, or your child gets tired, or your child is unable to gain weight, or is not gaining height, or is not unable to lose weight, or is gaining too much weight. So any of these things which seem illogical, which seem like are chronic and are not going away. If the child is suffering from sinus issues, or repeatedly falling ill, if you see skin issues, even leukoderma, vitiligo. We see young kids today with vitiligo, and the patches just disappear when you take out the wheat and some grains. Yeah, when you treat the gut, we are able to treat those people which were not getting treated with medication.
Right.
So it's as early, so anything which is chronic, and then you must rule out celiac disease. And you must rule out food sensitivity. There are IgG tests today which are available, which help you document the problem. But sometimes we don't have good tests, so
Okay.
we can just do an elimination and see. A lot of people say, how do we know? So take it
Yes.
out of your diet for about a month or 2 months
Okay.
and see how you're feeling. And if you feel a difference, then certainly that's the way to go. And then you
Okay.
seek professional help. You just
Right.
don't put it out and see, because there are many parts of the diet which need to be
Right.
addressed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So like 1 month is a good period of time where people can
Yes.
try it out. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah. So, and like a lot of people nowadays consider gluten-free diet also as a fad and try to follow it even without knowing the actual purpose why we are following it. We know that's a necessity for people actually who are actually going through the intolerances of the wheat and wheat-related disorders. But can it also be a healthy choice for people, for all of us basically, who are trying to lead a happy, healthy lifestyle?
It's a very, very good question, Kanika, because yes, it all depends on how you define the diet. If it's
Okay.
just, for instance, why do we go to gluten free? Let's look at a vegetarian diet. So a vegetarian diet can be very unhealthy and it can be very healthy.
Yes. Yes.
So I can be
Absolutely.
a very unhealthy vegetarian if I'm just going to be eating parathas and puris and aloo and paneer and cholas and dal and call myself a vegetarian. So
Vegetarian.
it doesn't work. So simply eliminating something from the diet is not going to translate into good health unless you
Hmm.
make sensible, healthy choices. So
Right.
what you're going to substitute, if I'm going to put mounds of white rice on my plate and not have
Hmm.
gluten, that's
Hmm.
also counterproductive. If I'm going to have loads of gluten-free, sugar-laden sweets, it's not going to help. If I'm
Right.
going to have sugary drinks and fried food and junk food, which is gluten-free, it's not going to help. So it's really what you put out there and how do you define the diet. So it is certainly very easy for any trend or any concept to become a fad that we can't help, because that's the nature of
Right.
food and food
Yes.
trends. If somebody does something and the neighbor also does it, and then the neighbor also, without understanding it,
Yeah.
it just has that kind of ripple effect and it becomes a fad. But if you look at the science is 100% clear. It's accurate. The science is being taught in universities, the premium institutions in overseas, teaching institutions, Harvard, etc. The science of the gut and gluten and all of these things are being taught. And so it's certainly out there, very, very evidence-based and rooted also in our traditional science, traditional wisdom of food. So that also it completely resonates. Like they said, "Jaisa an vaisa man."
Right.
That was what was said traditionally in Ayurveda, and they all said everything begins in the gut. Hippocrates said the same thing. So
Right.
it's
Right.
like coming a full circle. So there are no doubts about it. If it goes into a faddy segment, it's by the way things are being put out, and therefore what you are doing is very important to set out the right
Right.
message, that it should not just become everybody should
A fan.
start
Yeah.
putting it
Yeah.
out. It's not like that. But certainly, if you have problems, you need to seek professional help and do it right. And
Right.
what you choose in terms of a gluten-free diet is very important. You must have the good fats there. You must have your proteins in good quantity. You must have plenty of brightly colored vegetables and fruits out there.
Right.
You must make healthy alternative choices. Like millets are a wonderful choice.
Right.
And which grain in millet, some people are not able to tolerate millets, and it could be rice. So whatever you choose has to be it should be unpolished rice, ideally. A little bit of combination is okay, but you have to see the totality and the context of the
Right.
entire
Yeah.
diet. So yes, we should prevent it from becoming a fad. It should be followed under supervision, and bought out food, particularly the bakery and the alternatives in biscuits and cakes, are full of additives and full of things which are not really good for us. So it's just not a gluten-free diet. It should be a healthy diet with minimal processing and junk food.
Right, absolutely. So we have seen like so many people nowadays who are on a gluten-free diet. They only think like eating dal and rice is the very safest option, and they have very,
Hmm.
very little knowledge on the millets, which is
Hmm.
basically, as even it has come from the government of India, and everybody's talking. United Nations is talking about India participating. So with this International Year of Millets, people are actually now opening their minds and actually thinking about it. Okay, now okay, so okay, India is the largest producer of millets, so why we are not using millets in our daily life? So how millets can be helpful for people with celiac disease, and can help with the wheat allergies or intolerances, and what makes basically millets as a superfood of today, especially from ancient grain from India. Yeah.
Yes, I think the word is diversity today, and millets really offer a great solution to improve the diversity, not only in in terms of choice of grains, but also the diversity of gut flora that we have. I'll speak about the gut flora right now, and the diversity in the environment. We need the ecological diversity as well, so it comes a full circle. So the outside world, the outside ecosystem, and our inside ecosystem, we all
Right.
need diversity. And millets, in the way they are in India, the number of varieties, we have about 8 millets, and all of them have sub varieties in different
A
parts
lot of
of different
varieties.
states, and they have different colors and different properties, nutritional profiles. And of course, we all have the benefit of so many varieties, of thousands of varieties of rice as well. We have black, red rice, white
Yeah.
rice, and brown, all these
Brown rice
various
with husk,
rice
without
varieties,
husk. Yeah, a
short
lot of
grain,
things.
long grain. So when we put them all together, I think we are in a far better nourished state than having just mono grains, which when you put millets there, it immediately changes. So we are just used to having chapatis, one grain, and at best
Yes.
some rice. But when you put the millets there and you take out the wheat chapati, you have 7 or 8 varieties of grains to choose from. So you can do Monday ragi, and Tuesday jowar,
Hmm.
and Thursday, Wednesday bajra, and the foxtail millet, and then
Right.
the little millet. This so every day, and then you can have few varieties of rice. If you can just do that, it really helps the gut microbiome. So when I said microbiome, it really, when we speak about the gut, what is in the gut which really impacts us? Two parts of the gut. The gut is really about digestion, and that's a conventional understanding of the
Okay.
system, the digestive system, that the gut is supposed to digest the food and help us absorb the nutrients. So that is certainly one part of the gut, but all of this in the gut is being controlled by what we have, the microorganisms, the
Okay.
microflora, the bacteria, the fungus, the viruses, etc. All of these are in huge numbers, and almost now considered an organ in itself, and they control everything, whether it's digestion, or whether it's assimilation, or whether it's inflammation, everything about your immune system, and about the way you think, your mood, etc. The neurotransmitters, the appetite controlling hormones, everything is being master controlled, and even your genes are
Okay.
being controlled by the microbiome.
Microbiome.
So a happy microbiome is in good balance of good bacteria and lower levels of unfriendly bacteria or microorganisms. And if you feed these, so you really have to understand that you are not feeding yourself, you're feeding your bacteria. If you're kind to them,
Bacteria.
they'll work for you. If you're unkind to them, if you put poisons and you put chemicals and you put medicines, and you all in the name of cheat days and all those
Right.
unnecessary qualifications of bad food, that is going to hurt the bacteria badly. And so particularly people who are on say a gluten-free diet, can we have a cheat day? I mean, really, can you have one day of poison? It just doesn't work. And
Right.
all the good work that you've done in rebuilding your gut flora goes down the drain.
Right.
So it's not about indulgence is fine. You can have indulgence days where you eat the foods, but don't cheat on the grains. That's not possible when you
Hmm.
are sensitive.
Okay.
That is something which I really, think it needs to go out there, because I'm hearing too many people bring that
Right,
up,
right.
and especially like if they're talking about millets, but one day can we have a wheat? I mean, it all depends on who you are also. I mean,
Right,
are you
right.
really
If you are
needing to be gluten
intolerant,
free?
yeah, so
If
yeah,
you're,
you can't
no,
digest that,
not
yeah.
not that. If you're intolerant or celiac, the guidelines are the same. There
Right,
is zero tolerance. But if you're not any of that and you just want to eat healthy, sure, certainly you can have your wheat paratha
right,
also. There's no problem. But if you are following the diet in letter and spirit, then it has to be in letter and spirit. Then it cannot be a cheat day. So,
right,
you disturb the gut flora. You make it. You're unkind to it, and then by the time it gets reset, you've already damaged it again.
right, right.
So we really have to eat in accordance to what is right for our gut microbiome.
Right, right. So, but a lot of people face this problem in their daily cooking, like even like cooking with the millets. Means how well people accept millets and the other grains which are gluten free in their daily diets to make different kind of recipes which are easy for them, convenient for them, and they
Yeah.
can follow it on a daily routine wise. Not it's because it's a matter that you have to follow for your lifetime, right? So you need to have the things which you really like to be added in your food on a daily basis. And do you see that millets can be part of that daily regime for everybody, and how
So what you're
easy the
saying is
cooking
it
would be?
possible for everybody to have a
Yes, yes,
millet
on a
diet,
daily basis.
right?
Because I've seen like people, they are not comfortable. There are a lot of shortcomings of millets. Like people say, ki, there's a bitterness in the grains. There are you can't have a proper binding of a chapati. You can't keep the millets for a longer shelf life. So a lot of problems are there. And we are also working with a lot of food technologists, wherein we see that the sprouting of the millets actually can help in a lot of these problems, taking away these lot of problems, because sprouting removes the bitterness of the grains, even for the millet grains. And when the taste is good, then obviously it can be used at a varied recipe levels, can be consumed by kids easily. You can make chapati. So like we at NihKan, we do green banana flour. And when we add green banana flour to the millet flour, it actually gives that binding which is necessary for any gluten free atta or a dough to be made. So do you see such complaints from your basically patients basically coming to you and asking that, Ishi, how we can actually eat millets on a daily basis?
Yes, there is certainly truth in what you're saying. We do experience that. But just to go back to the previous question, let me just complete the thing about the variety of grains and the diversity. So the more diverse your gut flora, but that becomes a more strong immune system and a strong digestive system. Uh, uh,
Okay.
the diversity in the gut flora can increase by the diversity of the grains,
Right,
simply, and the diversity of the vegetables and fruits. So basically, a varied diet helps to build a diverse gut flora, which makes you stronger, both in terms of digestion, assimilation, and all the other functions. So that is achieved by using variety of grains, and how to put that variety of grains into your body is something which needs to be learned, because it is not really something which we have grown up with. But tradition has it that there are so many ways in which you can use the grain as a whole. You can soak it, you can ferment it, you can germinate it. All these
right,
processes help to make it more easy to prepare and to digest. And the flours, that when you make the flours, you can make them far better for you if you use those processes. And also the flours, like for instance, if you can't make a roti, a simple tip is a cup of flour with a 3/4 cup of boiling water. So boil the water and just put that flour and cook it and make a dough out of that. Let it sit for some
okay,
time and make the
yeah,
chapatis. They come out brilliantly. So, those little things in the kitchen, which can be, word can go around very, very uh, it can be word of mouth and through all the channels that we are talking about today. And that's all it takes. And you can then also see what works for you and your palate and your product. What what is more acceptable to you, what on the palate, what you digest better, are you bloated, are you, so those things can evolve, but certainly getting the change in is the first step, and getting them onto your table and your on your food in, and it's happening. I know, thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister, who's spoken at length about promoting these grains and taken it to a different level. This message is going across to the industry, to the food manufacturers, and lots of alternative products are being made. But we don't have to add value to those to the products and then have those value added products only. We can put them out in our kitchens ourselves also, to replace the staples, make the dosas, make the breads, make the cookies with these, and experiment and learn. And lots of recipes are also coming out there. I just saw a recipe book by the ministry, and with tons and tons of healthy recipes. So yeah, it's a time for change, and I think that is really the game changer, and that is what is really going to address the nutritional problems, and the malnutrition statistics can change very, very quickly once this gets going, and it already has. And I'm very optimistic about the change because it's happening at all levels. And I think conversations like these and people like you who are doing these things can really play a very, very significant role. So
we are.
But you have
really,
to start. You have to start somewhere.
To start somewhere, bring the change. Absolutely.
And it's, according to me, a revival, because this was all a part of our culture earlier. We were having
just have to bring them
only.
back.
Yes, and as a agricultural grains, cultivated grains came only much later. Millets were the earliest 5,000 years ago. Even some researchers say 10,000 years. There's evidence of use of millets. And millets were just grown. They were not grown. I mean, they were growing. Nobody planted them. So, so they have been in existence. We just have to rediscover the forgotten grains.
Right. Absolutely. So I would like to I'll ask you the last question basically for our session. So can you share with our listeners the initiative which is taken by the Celiac Society and you personally that has created impact or awareness among individuals, and how people can join the mission together?
Yes, thanks for bringing that up, Kanika. Yes, we were the first people as a group of professionals in nutrition and medical field to address this way back in 2006, and primarily it came out of the fact that personal stories and journeys where we realized that so many people would be suffering from anemia and health problems without knowing the real reasons for it, and how treatable it is only through food, and no medicine is required, and the dietary treatment itself is all that is needed. And how that in a country like ours, where malnutrition, anemia, and diarrhea are the three biggest causes for death and disability, in that if we are not being able to address through all these over 50 years of intervention and education and awareness that has happened. And so it was high time we kind of brought this out among professionals, medical experts, not only in the field of gastroenterology, but across all specialties included. So we have a representation from many, many diverse fields, part of our Celiac Society. And from then on to now, I think we've made huge difference, I would say, without being a, with all my humility and whatever. But I think when we started in 2006, the word celiac was really unheard of by most people.
Absolutely.
The gluten concept was just not there. And today, when you go out, it's like most people at different levels of even food industry, they understand gluten. So I think we've been at it, and we are still at it. The right information needs to go out to the right people and the population, general population, and create awareness among people who to diagnose it. That means the medical
Right.
fraternity.
Right.
So even there is a lot of a lot of gaps, and since it's not being taught even in medical textbooks beyond one paragraph, a small description of celiac disease as a childhood diarrheal disease
Mhm.
is all that is, even in our textbooks, it was one of the causes for anemia. That was it. And it was just a small. So today we know that, the average age of diagnosis of celiac disease is 45 years, that it can happen to anyone at any age. It's a genetic disorder, it's autoimmune, and it need not be diarrheal. And diarrheal cases are only 25-30%. And mostly they are, they have other
Right.
symptoms, and so on and so forth. So basically, that awareness of about celiac disease and wheat-related disorders, which went beyond celiac, which was, like I said earlier in the show, that non-celiac wheat sensitivity has become a bigger entity than celiac disease. Celiac disease is about 1% of the population globally, but this one we don't have data, but it's
Yeah.
almost 1/3% people, 1/3 people, population may be suffering, if not more. Yeah, so that whole narrative needs to be there, and beyond the gut. It's celiac disease and wheat-related disorders beyond the gut. That, how can my alopecia be connected to my gut and a wheat-related disorder? How can my joint pain be related to that? How can my acne be a part of gluten story?
Right.
So that beyond the gut is where we really focused on. And my first book was in 2009, which was again the first book on celiac disease in our country, Is Wheat Killing You, published by Penguin. And thereafter, I wrote 2, 3 other books, and now the 4G connection, which is, gut, girth,
Right.
gluten, and glucose. And it really is something which seems like almost like a consequence of what is evolving in our practice and our learning. And I think this is a journey which is just going on. And the society has organized smaller events and annual events for the population, for the people who are suffering, and the community, and also for medical professionals. And the largest conference we've had on this for the first time in India was International Symposium on Wheat-related Disorders.
Okay.
This was way back in 2019, not too far ago, long, but it was the first of its kind, where we had representation from many, many countries, right from New Zealand and Australia to Europe and the US. So it was experts who came together physically, and we deliberated on these issues with our medical professionals and students. And we're planning to have the second ISWD, International Symposium on Wheat-related Disorders, with the backdrop of millets. And maybe it happens in Bombay. That's our
Wow.
our
Okay. We would
destination
love
this
to
time.
participate in the same.
We
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we are planning. And yeah, we're doing whatever we can. So publications, we have a newsletter, and we, circulate it among a very captive audience. And, we are doing whatever we can, but a lot more needs to be done for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Ishi. Thank you so much for the session. As we at NihKan is also on a mission to spread awareness about food intolerances, and I would request all the viewers to get their own copy of Ishi's book. Again, I'm naming it the 4G to Good Health, and it's available on Amazon. People, please be aware, understand your body signs, choose the healthy options to suit your own body. So thank you, Ishi, again. To basically embrace all of us with your knowledge. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you so much. Thank you for having me. All the best, and I hope everyone enjoys the book.
Yes.